All right, page 72. How are these rational numbers different from what you did yesterday? Victoria, you got it. There's now we now have to contend with negative rational numbers. You can abbreviate it as negative rats. I have no issue with that. Positive rats and negative rats. Okay, but rat stands for rational numbers. You're going to do it the same way using place value. You just have to be a little bit more conscious of the difference between negative and positive. So let's use our place value chart on page 8. And I kind of gave you a visual number line again because you'll see how that comes in handy. All right, from page 1, and again, I apologize for you guys having to flip back and forth. New York City was positive 8.68, correct? All right, and then Boston, watch what I'm going to do. Put the negative symbol right before the ones column. 3.97. Philly was positive 8.0991. Stretches all the way out to 10 thousandths. And then Hartford is negative 3.9705. All right, what do I do first? The procedure is exactly like you did yesterday. What do I do, Jake?
Zeros.
Sure, let's add those annex zeros. Make everything nice and neat and tidy. What next? Don't forget, because it's kind of important. Skylar. Right. Go back and revisit the question and say, okay, well, what do you guys want? Do you want low to high or high to low? Coldest to warmest is what they're asking, right? So I'll put coldest to warmest, but also understand that's low to high, right? So we're looking for the lowest number first. All right, so right away, what two cities cannot be the lowest? Understand that concept, because if you can eliminate half the choices right from the get-go, that's going to make it more manageable. Joe?
Philly and New York.
Why?
Because they're not negative numbers.
Right, your negatives are always going to be lower than your positives. So now we're going to narrow it down to Boston and Hartford. Can't tell by this -3, -3. So now we've got to go to the next. Now watch. This is not 9 and 9. Think of it as -9, -9. This is where it's different. Because you got to add that negative symbol in your head when you start comparing the place value digits. Ready? -7, -7, still no help. Ready? -0, which is really 0, or -0, still no help. They're the same. But here's where we differentiate. -0, which is still your 0, and -5. What's lower? -5 or 0? What's furthest to the left? Sam. Think, number line, what's further left? -5 or 0? -5. So therefore, now Hartford becomes your coldest. Put a 1 there. Okay. Now, luckily, because we narrowed down our 4 cities to 2 negatives and 2 positives, that automatically has to make Boston your second coldest. So you don't have any real decision making there. When you've narrowed it down to 2 cities, once you know what your number 1 is, that automatically is going to set your number 2. And the next decision now that needs to be made is between your positive cities of Philadelphia and New York. Okay, the rankings 3 and 4. 8 and 8, no help. But look, we're good here. What's lower, 0 or 6? Because you always have to remember, it's low to high. What's lower, 0 or 6? And they're positive. Right, so that becomes your third city, making automatically New York number 4. Okay, and I started you off with 4 cities, but I will tell you, because I just took the quiz, I have as many as 10 different cities that you have to rank for Friday's quiz.
How
We're-
long will it
If you do it, you'll have plenty of time if you use your place value chart. Okay, there's plenty of time because there's only 3 questions on ordering and comparing. Okay, and the first half of the quiz is your inequality symbols. You'll zip through that. Okay, so there's time, but you got to take the time to do it very carefully because if you try to rush through it, you'll make mistakes. All right. Then, once I've got the hard work done, if it helps you, this will always be, when you rank this, as long as you've done it properly, 1 through 4, top to bottom. So now you just got to plug in your cities. Number 1 was Hartford. Number 2 was Boston. 3 was Philly. And 4 is our brothers in New York City. Okay? You ready to get a little bit harder? Example 2 is about as hard as it gets because it's just more numbers to contend with. So let's take a look at example 2. It's the same idea, but you have a lot more numbers now. One way that you can do this, and I'm not saying that you have to do it this way, is make 2 place value tables, one for all your negatives and one for all your positives. Honestly, if you want to put it all on one table, as long as you make your negative symbols where they're supposed to be, you can do it that way if that works for you, but sometimes it gets really, really crowded and busy. So since we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we have 11 numbers. I'm just going to show you a strategy where you can break it up, all of your negatives and 0 on one table, and then when you go to the next page, we'll take care of all the positives, and then everything falls into place. So let's do this first. What's all my negative numbers? Go, Luke. Watch what I'm going to do. When he says it, I'm going to cross it out.
negative 0.6?
Okay, a little, like a personal preference on my end. I don't like to add the little commas because it throws me off. If you want to add a comma just to separate the numbers, that's fine. I just like to give it a lot of space so I could see it better because these little commas kind of get in the way for me. But that's me. As long as I have the room, I'm just going to spread it out. Okay, Luke.
Negative 4.5. Negative 1.3. And negative 1.1.
Okay, that takes care of the negative rats. Don't forget, negative 4, even though it's an integer, it's still a rational number because the rational numbers include the integers. All right, positives. Jake.
1.7.
Okay, bud.
55.
Great. And there's one in there that's neither. What's neither negative or positive that's still left? It's the only number that's not crossed out. 0. Okay. All right, now that's nice and laid out for us. This table now breaks up all of your negative numbers and 0. So that's all I'm going to do now is just put this in, but you got to make sure it lines up correctly. So I'm going to scroll down, but you have it on your sheet. When you do this, I'll do it in green. 4 is just 4, but it's negative, so don't forget that negative symbol. And then negative 0.6, right? Just make sure my order is right here, because I have it here. Yep, we're good. Negative 4.5. negative 1.91. And negative 1.901. And then don't forget 0. Okay, annex zeros, ready? Got to carry it all the way out to thousandths. All right, what do they want? Least to greatest or greatest to least? L to G or G to L?
Least greatest.
L to G, right? Okay, so let me ask you this. What two numbers right now, what two rational numbers are definitely the least? We can narrow it down to 2 before we start looking at the other columns. What do you got, Paige?
2 fours.
All right, so you got the 2 4s, right? So now you got to say to yourself, what's lower? Negative 5 or 0? Nick,
Negative 5.
that's our winner for the lowest. Cross it out and give it a designation of 1. That automatically makes this number now my number 2, which is my second least number. All right, now out of our 3 remaining, you tell me what's less, 0 or negative 1? Chels. Okay, so now we're looking at our 2 rational numbers that start with negative 1. I got to look to my tenths column. No help. Got to go to hundredths. What's lower, negative 1 or 0? Jake,
Negative 1.
cross it out. Forgot to cross this out. And make this 3. That automatically now has to make this my number 4. Just follow the steps piece by piece by piece. All right, so now we're down to the last 2 for negatives. Don't forget, we have a whole set of positives we still got to deal with too. But once this is done, you can just put it together like a puzzle, as you'll say. All right, no help, 0 and 0. However, what's lower, negative 6 or 0? What's lower? Victoria, you tell me, what's less, negative 6 or 0? Say negative 6 though, right? Good. Number 5. And that makes now this number 6. All right, now we got to go into the positives. Got to flip pages. And we're going to slot our positives as we listed it. We had a 1.7, 4.1, 2, 0.55, and 5, right? Did I get that right? I think so. Yeah, we had 2 integers, 2 and 5. All right. Annex zeros. Least to greatest or greatest to least? Make that reminder. Okay, now here's what I would do. What was the last number we ended up with? 6. So my next lowest number, I'm going to start with the number 7 because when I'm done, I've got to rank all 11 numbers or 12. So this one, as you'll see, it's going to be easier because they're all now. The negatives are always harder to deal with than the positives. So we look at the first column. What's the lowest? 5, 0, 2, 4, or 1? What's the lowest? 0. Since I left off with 6, what number should I put? This is now my 7th lowest. Cross it out. Deuce. Dave. 1, 4, 2, or 5? Cross it out, and that's now number 8. Somebody I haven't heard from. Santino.
Yeah.
4, 2, 5. What's the lowest?
2.
Cross it out. That gets a number 9. A lot easier, the positives. They fall into place nicely. Good.
And then 4.1.
Good. And
And 5.
now you have all 12. All you got to do is match up your numbers from the last 2 pages, and it'll be fine. Okay? Now, I'm not going to do that because it's going to take time to rewrite it. You would do that on your sheets or on your quiz, but all you then have to do is go back to the page before it. Whatever you had as your number 1 gets plugged into the number 1 slot, and you slot all 11. Okay? Think you can manage? You want to practice them on your own? I'm going to have you write it down, but not just after I'm done speaking with you. But let me tell you what you guys are going to do after you rank everything down. We have about 10 minutes left, right? All right, here are your pages for assignment. Obviously, you could definitely do page exercises 1 through 5. So that's page number 12. No, page 11. And that's it, really. That's your page, because then the rest is homework, right? All right, so you have page 11. You could do that in your groups. And then you can go to your problem set, which is the last 3 pages of your problem set. Okay, good. You get stuck, come and see me. Also, if you need to check any answers from yesterday, it's all up here now. The whole thing is up here. So if there's anything that you did classwork-wise that you didn't check, it's up on the marker board here. You could just check the answer keys. All right, guys? All right, group up and go.